doesn't mean anything to people that know you get paid for that. I know you get paid for them views. You can't play the game on me because I started the game. Give me something.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jarvis Sam Show. If you were able to hear the little snippet, I've been listening to T-Pain's epic rant he went on this week in regards to the state of music right now and everything. And we're going to get into my thoughts on that here in a little bit. But first and foremost, wherever you're getting this podcast from, please smash that subscribe button right now, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever. Go smash that subscribe button. That way you can be plugged in each and every time I release a new episode, which is every Sunday. We come every Sunday. We got to be here every Sunday. But smash that subscribe button because Sundays come around very, very quickly. So in addition to that, check me out on Patreon. The link will be wherever you are finding this podcast. Wherever you're finding the podcast, it's going to be in the description box, the link to my Patreon, where I have a whole new array of content that's going to be housed there specifically for the Patreons. It's only $5 a month. $5 a month. And you have no idea how that can bless me and help expand everything that I've got going on. So go if you rock with me, and obviously you're listening, you do. So go check me out on Patreon. $5 a month gets you a whole new set of content, and you get to support good content, and I get to be able to be in a position to make better content and more higher quality content in the future with your support. So check me out on Patreon. But yeah, this week I got to get into T-Pain's rant that I saw the other day on social media. Now, I talked about T-Pain a few weeks ago when Usher, he talked about where Usher approached him on a plane and told him he was messing up music and everything, and how that put him in a 4-year depression and everything. And I spoke about that. And I'm a T-Pain guy. He's I think he's one of the he's honestly one of my favorite artists. Like, the era I grew up in when I was in my 20s, T-Pain was hot. There was a time period where if you were a rapper, you wanted a hook from T-Pain on your single, because T-Pain was just on fire. And then you had so many people after him mimicking his style. Like I said, he wasn't the first one to do auto-tune, but man, he was the one that really made it a popular segment of hip-hop music or R&B, whatever you want to call it, because he can sing. That brother can sing. But you had so many people mimicking it, from Kanye West to Ron Browns to just everybody. I mean, even Usher himself. I don't think Usher had an album after T-Pain that came out where he didn't have a song or two that he was using auto-tune. So to say that was effing up music, Usher, you was kind of wrong for that, because you yourself had to go in the lab and use some auto-tune because it was the hot sound at the time. But anyway, T-Pain went on this epic rant where I guess he has been getting a lot of, when you're an artist and you're big, you get people throwing demo tapes or whatever they call them now. I don't know if they're still demo tapes, but I remember growing up, people call them, I got a demo tape, and they would always try to sneak their demo tape or their mixtape to somebody that was big and try to get that person to get behind their project. So I'm assuming people are sending him music and it's all sounding the same. And so he went on this epic rant, like, do something else, like, just do something else. He keeps saying, do something else. He was saying that everybody already, Lil Baby's already doing it. Lil Uzi Vert's already doing this. The Baby's already doing this. The Lil Durk, like, all the game has already clogged up with these guys that kind of have the same sound. And now everybody is replicating that and trying to sound the same. I spoke last week about how, or a few weeks ago, and about how Future had that sound, and then next thing you know, Migos has it, and it's just like. But I think every era kind of has a sound of that time. But what really takes what the thing that people I think forget is this sound gets popular because it is different. But then it becomes watered down because everybody starts doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. So, anyway, T-Pain's rant, I watched, there was like a 10-minute version of it on YouTube, and that's kind of what I opened the show with was him continuing to go on about everything, and about how, everything this day and age can be bought. The streams can be bought. You can buy all this stuff or whatever. But what I'm here to talk about is these guys that all sound the same, right? And, just like T-Pain was saying, I'm not here to like dog hip hop now, or think just because, everybody's not rapping like Jay and Nas and Big that, it's not cool. Like, I get that music evolves. I even get that when I was growing up, the music I was listening to, the elders felt like that was trash, move, get out the way. Like, you think the old heads was feeling that? Of course not. But again, it was kind of the evolution of music. And again, music is continues to evolve. And, but again, everything has its own, like, something that's different is going to eventually take off. But then when it's different, then it's no longer different because everybody and their mom tries to hop on that same sound. Everybody wants to sound like Lil Baby now. Everybody wants to sound like Da Baby right now. Everybody wants to sound like Lil Durk and Lil Uzi Vert and all these guys, and there's no originality. And but again, it happens almost every era. It happened in the T-Pain era. He was a part of something where that sound was big and everybody was doing it all of a sudden, because I remember thinking like, man, like how, like there was not like a song on 106 at Park you felt that did not have auto tune in it at one point. And it's just like, come on, like it watered it down, and it didn't make it special when you heard a T-Pain song. Like, I remember the first time I heard I'm Sprung, I was like, oh, okay. That's a jab, and then next thing you know, he's on Kiss Kiss, and he's on the Khaled songs, and man, T-Pain had a nice run, and I think I mentioned it last time. Everybody was saying, "Oh man, Lil Jon gonna cook him on that verses." I'm gonna be honest with you. I think T-Pain was way better. T-Pain was more poised. T-Pain knew what he was doing, and T-Pain got hit after hit after hit after hit. Do not sleep on T-Pain. Go check his catalog and everything. Well, anyway, what made me actually want to talk about this week was I was listening to an excerpt I heard from the Ghetto Boys Reloaded podcast with Willie D and Scarface. They had Boyce Watkins on there, who's somebody I followed for many years, and so the clip immediately got my attention. And then they were talking about a topic that I'm talking about on Patreon this week, which is mentorship. So the caption of mentorship got me, plus the mix of guys that were actually talking, they got my attention. And it was interesting. They were talking about the state of hip hop, kind of similar to T-Pain, how it's not the same. A lot of cats sound the same, and whatnot. And I thought it was interesting how Willie D and Scarface kind of talked about how cats like them stopped rapping a long time ago. So these new guys, they don't have a whole lot to look up to. So they end up looking at their competition instead of really going back. Because this era, I mean, they're not going to go back and study the greats. These guys grew up. I mean, they probably grew up listening to Drake and J. Cole. That's about as OG as they get. And so they it's different. So they're saying that they probably, if they were still making music, these guys could probably have a little more of something to kind of measure up to, and realize there's multiple ways of doing things. And they talked about that's why mentorship is so important. Mentorship is so important because if not, these guys are going to get lost in the mix doing the same thing as everybody else. But when you can get an OG that's mentoring you, that's guiding you, that's showing you that, hey, we don't have to do things like Lil Baby. We don't have to do things like the Baby. We can sound like this. You can produce a hit and sound like Nas. You can sound like Scarface. You can sound, all these are great. These are real true classics. And so I thought that was such an interesting perspective, especially, seeing how those two things were, those two clips I saw pretty much back to back. And I thought they were so closely, woven in, because I feel like the era that I grew up listening to, those guys grew up listening to the greats, right? So, Ludacris, Nelly, all these guys, who had super successful careers, they grew up on Biggie, they grew up on Pac, they grew up on LL Cool J, guys that could really go. And not only that, I think they sought advice, and they kind of latched on to those guys because it made sense to, and plus their talent level was way up there. And at that time, that's when hip hop really took over as kind of like the dominant genre of music. So it was really cool to see the older cats kind of gravitating to the newer cats, and really helping them, and really guiding them, and giving them a feature here and there, and co-signing them, and whatnot. And you don't see that as much with this new era. You don't see, you don't necessarily see a Ludacris, passing it down. Ludacris making hella money in Fast and the Furious right now, but you don't see him, as that mentor to some of these guys, and that could be what's dragging some of this whole thing down. And I as a hip hop fan, I mean, I don't think I'll ever not like hip hop. Like it's the genre of music that I grew up listening to. I pick and choose and subscribe to what I want to listen to. But like I spoke last week, man, about the BET Awards. I thoroughly enjoyed Lil Baby. I like Lil Baby. Like, I think he's good, but I don't. To T-Pain's credit, I don't think anybody's going to do Lil Baby like Lil Baby. He has a couple records that I really like. He has the joint off the Space Jam that they performed at the BET Awards with Kirk Franklin. That was fire. And then he has that other one that's just kind of talking about I can't think of the title of the song, but he's basically talking about everything that's going on, within the black community and whatnot. And, I think this generation needs a voice that's saying those type of things, and in that light, because not everybody's going to listen to a Jay-Z record. Like, these young kids are not, listening to a 50-year-old rap at this point. But I think that's very key that we continue to embrace that music. Like, I will always embrace it. When I think about, but when I think about people being different, I'm from Houston, and Houston had a run in hip hop back in really 03. I think Lil Flip came out with the Game Over. Was it 04? And then by 04, 05, you have Houston kind of really making a splash into the hip hop scene. You had Mike Jones with Back Then, and you had Slim Thug coming out. They had the Steel Tippin'. You had Paul Wall. So you had quite a few. You had Chameleonaire. So you had quite a few Houston artists that were making a lot of noise. But Houston always had this kind of stereotypical Houston sound, and we were kind of branded as, trunk popping music. Everybody talking about sipping lean and popping trunk and all that. And right now, we got a really fire artist out of Houston. And I'm not talking about Travis Scott. Travis Scott's pretty dope too. But I'm talking about Toby Nwigwe. Like, he truly came out with a different sound. He is Houston all day, all night. He reps it to the death of him. But specifically the SWAT, which is A-Leaf, Texas, right? He represents it so hard. But his sound does not sound stereotypical. It is not lean sipping music. It is not trunk popping music. It's just good music. He doesn't even curse in his rhymes, and the lyrics are fire. He has almost this Andre 3000 kind of style to him. Just a really talented guy. And he's different. And I think that's what's making him such a success, is because he is doing something that's different. He's not, trying to be New Houston to where, he's sounding like Travis Scott or whomever. He has his own sound. He has his own producer, Nell, who does fire beats for him all the time. And he just does his thing. And I think over the past year and a half, he's really seen a lot of traction in the music industry. And he's been himself. Like, he's just doing him. He's not worried about anything other than creating what is his true brand, what is his music, and it's different. And that's what I love about the brother, man. It's different, man. Like, there's every song sounds like he has several albums out, and the music is just great. And again, like I said, it's one of those artists where you can, like, I cannot name very many artists, especially artists from Houston that rap, where you can literally put the CD or the press play. I know we don't do CDs no more, but you can literally put his album on, press play, and not have to worry about getting a Walmart version for your kids or whatever. Like, it's already there. It's quality content. He is, and for to say it doesn't have cursing, and he doesn't, have sexually explicit lyrics and all that. It's not corny material. Like, it's that's what's so dope about it. It's like, it ain't corny. Like, I think I remember when I was growing up, and, Will Smith didn't curse in his records or whatever. And, people, oh, it's corny, and man, I never thought Will Smith was corny. I loved his records, but his records aren't even on that level. It ain't getting jiggy with it. It's he's spitting some hard stuff. It's just he's figured out how to do it without cursing, and I think that's dope. So being different is huge. Being different, set yourself aside, man, from the crowd, man. You can't stand out in the crowd by being the same. And I think there's a lesson in that for all of us. We never should strive to be like someone else. I mean, I think, I always feel like you should learn from everybody you're around. So whoever you're in close proximity with, whoever's in your circle, whoever's you work with, you should be pulling things from them, So like a rapper can take a little bit of this, maybe you like the way maybe you like the baby's cadence, and you can use a little bit of that sometimes. Or maybe you like the way Lil Durk spins whatever, and you can incorporate that into your style. Same thing with us. Like, maybe you like the way somebody does something at your job, right? But you can't emulate them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I worked with a cat that was really good, man, and like one of the best that I've ever seen at that particular job. But I picked up some things from him and added to my tool belt to make me a better leader and whatnot. But I would fail at being that guy. Like, why would I want to do that? I don't want to be him. I want to be the best me I can be. So I can take a little bit from you. I can take a little bit from this person. And that's where, again, mentorship is huge, because mentorship helps you figure that out and helps you shape who you really need to be, and help you become the best version of you. So be the best version of you. That's what Toby's doing. Toby is being the best version of Toby, and he's continuing to get better. He's not worried about little baby. He's not worried about little Dirk. He's not worried about the baby. He's going to continue being the best Toby he can be, because that's all he can be. And again, I think that's a lesson for all of us. We be the best that we can be. All we can do is be the best person that we can be. Pick up things along the way. I always say you got to have, so like Batman from '66. I grew up on that. I mean, if you might be younger, you might not remember that. But I remember I watched Batman, the '66 one with Adam West and Burt Ward or whoever. And that '66 Batman, Adam West, he had this bat belt, and he had everything he needed on that belt. So whatever circumstance came his way, he had something on that belt for you, right? There was an episode where they were at sea looking for the Joker or somebody, or the Penguin, probably the Penguin if they was in, I don't know. I don't remember who they were looking for in that episode. But anyway, a shark came, and hey man, he pulled out some shark repellent bat spray from his bat belt, because he was prepared. He was prepared for whatever circumstances came away. So I feel like as a leader, as you know, if you're not even trying to be just being the best that you can be, you got to have this belt, man. You got to have a tool belt, man. And you got to put everything. You got to figure out a way to put every tool you need on that tool belt. And when the circumstance comes up and the time comes up where you need that particular tool to use it, you should be able to pull it right off your belt like that shark repellent bat spray. And that's just the way it should be. That's just the way, you know, we should constantly be learning, constantly be building, but it's to be the best version of us, not to be the next little baby, not to be the next baby, not to be the next little Dirk. No, it needs to be the first little Dirk. It needs to be the first Jarvis Sam. It needs to be, and so forth and so on. And so, I got some information coming up on my Patreon about mentorship. Mentorship is huge. Mentorship, especially mentorship in the Black community. We really have to. I think there's a huge need for mentorship in the Black community, man, because you know you have so many times where there's fatherless homes or broken homes or whatever, and all that kid needs is just somebody to kind of push him and guide him along the way. And it could go so far for that young man or that young lady, just having that positive role model. And not just with the kids. I think we need mentors in every stage of our life if we're fortunate. You know, I've been fortunate to have a couple of really good mentors in my life. And, you know, I can think when I had those mentors, you know, how much more productive I was, because I was constantly being pushed, constantly, you know, given information to help. So check out my Patreon to get the episode on mentorship. You're going to have to get the Patreon. It's only $5 a month, and you're going to get information like that. I have another one about building the right professional relationships to help push you further. So that's the kind of content you're going to get there. So go to the Patreon to get the mentorship episode. But yeah, this was the episode where we're just talking about T-Pain's rant, and I wanted to tie it to the importance of one being an individual, being different, and the importance of mentorship to help you become the best version of you. So appreciate you checking out this episode. Catch me next week for another episode of the Jarvis Sam Show. Follow me on Instagram. It's Jarvis Sam _ on Instagram. Or you can follow the show's Instagram at The Jarvis Sam Show. Actually, go follow both of them. Again, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, smash the subscribe button right now wherever you're getting it from, so that you can stay plugged in and get alerts each and every time we have an episode. So thank you so much for joining this week. We will catch you next week with another episode. Thank you so much.